Ooh, that looks tasty. Oh, we've done it. We've defeated the Time Mage. The kingdom is safe at last.
My lord, news from the east. There has been an uprising of the elementals. They're coming to attack the kingdom. We need you again. And, not to mention...
Okay. You would think even the elements could be appreciative for once of the amazing thing we did. But no one pays attention to them for just a little bit, and now we have to go fight them too. Welcome, folks. Today the Hungry Gamer is back with my first ever GameFound preview. And if you weren't aware, GameFound is the newest competitor to Kickstarter, and we're going to see how it goes. And today we are talking about Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising, designed by Helena Hope, Sen-Foong Lim, and Jesse Wright, and published by Lucky Duck Games. Now, before I get started, please do note that a lot of what you see in front of you is still in the prototype phase. I have gussied things up a bit with some of the fancy deluxe components from the original Kingdom Rush, mostly being these 3D towers, which I'm pretty sure are going to be available in the new campaign, and I've taken the new expansion characters here, which are still prototype designs, but I have slapped a little bit of paint on them. And also you might see the deluxe little soldiers as well, which also I've slapped a little bit of paint on just because, well, if you're familiar with me, you know that I really liked the original game, the base game, Kingdom Rush Rift in Time. And so I'm enjoying playing it all kinds of blinged out. And so I got the bling. Why on earth wouldn't I use it when I play the prototype expansion, right? In any event, do keep in mind that a lot of the stuff out here is still in the prototype phase, and even some of the things that I say can and may change as the campaign goes on. So do keep that in mind. Additionally, please make sure you turn on your Klingon subtitles, because if I make any mistakes, or as I mentioned, there are some changes, that's where you will find those corrections. Now, hey everybody, future Hungry Gamer here, and oh, the hat? Yeah, well, it's an alien thing. Don't worry, you'll find out before too long. But I will say, who would have thought that this dude from Ancient Aliens actually had it right? The more you know, right? Anyhow, I just needed to jump in really quickly and make a quick clarification. Many times throughout this video, I'm going to say the phrase standalone expansion. And that's actually a big ol' lie. And so I say it enough, and it actually was confusing to some people. I found out in the future, I had to come back now and fix it. You see, this is actually a standalone game. You do not need Kingdom Rush Rift in Time to be able to play and enjoy Elemental Uprising. Though, you are able to take the characters and cross them back and forth. So, it is a standalone game, not a standalone expansion. Anytime I say standalone expansion, just imagine that I said standalone game, because that's what it should be. And let me tell you, I've been playing this game for a while now that I have it. Let me tell you, the campaign was fantastic, and oh my gosh, wait until you see the next campaign coming from Lucky Duck. Well, so what is it actually going to be? Can't tell you. Paradoxes, timelines, space-time continuum, Doctor Who stuff. Yeah, so can't tell you. But anyhow, I'll let you get back to the video. I hope it helps you decide if you would like to back Elemental Uprising on GameFound. What this is a standalone expansion to the pretty wildly successful Kingdom Rush Rift in Time tower defense game from 2020, which is a board game adaptation of the app game of the same name. And as you expect with a standalone expansion, the core of it is the same. And what I'm really going to focus on are what is different about Elemental Uprising versus Kingdom Rush Rift in Time. Now, if you want to learn about Rift in Time, you can go down to the description and find a link to my original video down there. Now, if you are not interested in how the game is played and just want to jump ahead to my final thoughts, then you want to go to the timestamp on the screen right now. For those of us still here, let's chat quickly. So first off, the base of the game is you have your kingdom, in which case for me, it's all the way down here. You can barely see it on the edge there. And these hordes are going to be coming from spawn points. You'll see I have one right here. Will slowly be coming down, following the path. There might be more than one spawn point to get to your kingdom. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be using all these different towers, and each color correlates to a player. And what you're going to be doing is you are going to be playing towers out onto the board. And as you play those towers, it gives you a certain type of polyomino shape that you can fire out of your tower. So you can see as I just grab a couple of these right here, that you'll be sending out these differently shaped polyominoes, and it'll usually tell you what orientation that they have to come out in. And you'll be sending them out, and your goal is you're trying to cover up all of the enemies on each of the trays. Now you're also going to have individual heroes that you're able to send out, and they can actually stand on top of things. And they're also going to have their own abilities to send out their own different attacks in various different shapes as well. And I also do need to point out before I go any further that what you see here is a totally random setup because I did not want to spoil anything from the actual game that you might experience if you back, just in case the prototype material actually doesn't make its way into the game itself. And your goal is you're trying to cover up all of the enemies on these trays. And if you do that, they are defeated, in which case you'll be able to remove it, take a look on the back, and see the reward. Now, your reward might be a coin, or it might be a crystal, and I'll tell you how you use those a little bit later on. The other catch is, any of the towers that you have that you choose not to use, you're going to wind up taking that tower. So I have this level 2 tower here. Let's say it wasn't used. I would pass it to another player on the table with me, and it would get upgraded to a level 3 tower, which is, as you can guess, more powerful. And you're going to be playing through the game trying to stop these towers that are continually coming out every single round. And in a lot of the games, there's multiple spawn points. So all these different hordes are coming out, racing towards your kingdom. You're trying to stop them all. Now, in the base game, there are these portals, these time portals that came out. And as soon as you destroyed all of those, bully for you, you won the game. In most cases, there were some scenarios that were a little bit different. But in this one, that's not what happens. You see, as you play through instead, each round in this one's going to have a different victory condition. And most of them seem like they are at the end of whatever round this victory condition card comes up, whatever hordes are left are going to advance to the kingdom, and if they kill you, they kill you. If they don't, you win. And of course, there are going to be mini bosses and big bosses, just like there were in the base game. And if you check out the screen right now, you're going to see one of the bosses that's going to be available in this Elemental Uprising, which looks really, really cool. I'm very excited about it. And so let's talk a little bit about the differences in this version versus the original. First off, and the two characters that I got to try out, they are already different. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, the characters in the base game were already different. And yes, they were, but what these do is they are offering up an additional mechanic that goes with them. Because I know you can probably see these little orange meeple soldier dudes, and you're thinking, well, I thought you said you're going to put out all of these other soldiers, these fancy ones that you painted, so you can show off how mediocre your painting is. And that's true, but these are specific to this character right here. And what this character right here. And his shtick is he has these two sand warriors that travel around with him, and the sand warriors are able to activate stuff on the board. They're able to act just like a soldier, and they have other little abilities that go there. While Bruxa here, she has the ability to slowly, as she's playing, she builds up these skulls. And what these skulls do is they power up her abilities. And then when she gets all of the skulls, they all will wind up going away and kind of activate a quasi superpower. And so what you're seeing here is with both of these, and I can imagine with the others that come in the new game, there's just an additional mechanic that's added on top of these heroes. And I do also need to point out that right now that all of the heroes from Elemental Uprising and from Rift in Time can cross over versions. There's absolutely no reason you can't use Ulrich or Bruxa in Rift in Time or any of them in Elemental Uprising. In addition to that, all of the towers are different. All of them. Now, obviously, they operate mostly in the same ways, right? You're still shooting out polyominoes. You're still shooting them out in specific orientations. They're still shooting at different distances. That has not changed. I'll just go ahead and I'll just start flipping through some of these. And a lot of these are the same, but you'll see, if you're familiar with Rift in Time, these symbols here are all very, very different, and they're different shaped polyominoes of the old type of symbols that you have there, and they're all just a little bit different. So again, it's just changed it up slightly. Is it a huge change? No, but it is a bit different. Now, I'm not going to lie, the things I've described being different so far aren't huge. They're not huge. They're slight. Now, let me talk about the things that I think are the bigger changes to the game. And the first one is there are now things that you will add out onto the board during setup. There are these magma pits here that have crystals on them. And if you wind up sending someone through them, you're able to just pick up a crystal. So there are these resources that are out there that might change how you're going to play. In addition, it is magma, it might hurt you. In addition to that, there are these flowers that will be out on the board. And now these are probably my favorite, because what these do is, if you go through and you step through them, you can activate them. And what will happen is, it will shoot something somewhere on the board. And it's not huge damage, but suddenly you're blasting everywhere across the board. And again, it's another way to just change things up just a little bit. Now, again, that's not a huge difference. But here is where I think the game really does something really fun and really cool for me. And that is, on a lot of the towers, not all of them, but on a lot of them, you're able to spend coins. Remember how I mentioned on the back that sometimes you're going to get coins, sometimes you're going to get crystals? You're able to spend coins to upgrade your towers. Yes, your towers, not take your towers and go from level 2 to level 3, which you can already do by not using them, or starting out by spending 3 crystals to buy a level 2 tower. No, you can literally make your towers better. You can spend coins and literally put a sticker on your tower, which will change it. And you might be putting a sticker out there that makes all of your attacks magical weapons. Or maybe you're going to put something on there that's going to give it perfect range. Or maybe you're going to put something on there that's going to wind up giving you the ability to send out another troop, or whatever it is. But it's another choice you have to make, and you're able to doctor your towers to what it is that you want to do. And along with that, as you go through, I've already mentioned sometimes you're going to get coins, or sometimes you're going to get gems, but sometimes you're going to have to choose what it is that you want. And that, to me, is a significant change. And the last change that I'm going to go ahead and quickly point out is simply with the hordes that you can face. There are some simply new types of hordes, like these here. Anytime you hurt them, you can actually only cover one square because they're armored. But the most interesting ones to me are these here, and the same thing, just a slightly different flavor there. These have these shamans on them, and what they're doing is they are protecting the entire horde tray. They should be facing this way, from both sides, from any physical attacks. So nothing physical can come from the sides to hit them. You have to come from the front or the back. And so you can start to kind of get the idea that there's new enemies that are just ever so slightly more complex, just like the heroes are ever so slightly more complex. And just like the board setup with these tiles that go out there is ever so slightly more complex. And as I just said, and you guessed it, your own towers are ever so slightly more complex. That's it, folks. I mean, this is at its core the same game as Kingdom Rush, just everything about it is, you guessed it, ever so slightly more complex. So, what do I like about this game? Let me start out. I like everything that I liked about the base game I still like in this game. I like the way the polyominoes work. I like that you're having to make these choices of which towers are you going to put where so you can shoot the exact right shape. I like the puzzle that's out there as you're trying to make sure you can cover these horde tiles with the exact right shapes and they'll do the exact right amount of damage that you're trying to work out how to get around the special abilities that the horde trays have. I really still like how easy it is to upgrade your towers. Just don't use one, you can pass it on to the other side. I still think that's fantastic. I like that everything about the game is not the same. In the original game, it wasn't always just destroy the portals. Just like in this game, it's not always just kill everything before the end. Every so often, there is something that mixes the game up that makes it a little different. We're talking about mini bosses or big bosses or whatever it may be. I still like the heroes. I love the heroes in the base game. I really like these two heroes as well. I'm really bummed I haven't got to check out the other heroes. I think there's going to be 6 in the base game. I don't know. I love the way that you can synergize with them. I love the way that they play completely differently. And all of that to me still really works. All of that. And the production is still really good. Again, I have some of the deluxe stuff out here. I spent time painting them. But even the base game stuff is really nice and it really looks good and it really works well. And the other thing that I still really like about this game is that it has taken away the problem that I have with tower defense games in the app version is there's the time crunch. I am not a fast player. I love chaos, but I don't love speed necessarily. And this one allows me to play my tower defense, but it allows me to take my time and make my plan. And that just to me is amazing. I adore that. Also at the same time, my quibbles are also the same. The game still is fiddly to set up. I don't actually find it all that fiddly once you're playing because of the way these trays work. And if you've organized your stuff, then it's actually, I find it not all that fiddly to play. But the setup still is a bit of a bear. You still have to go through and make a very specific stack of these horde cards. And if you have multiple different spawn points, you have to make multiple different stacks that have to be set in a very specific order, and that can feel like it takes a little longer than you would like to get into the game. And as with the original one, I still find this game very hard. As I said, I really enjoy it, but it is a hard game if you are anyone but Michael Kelly at One Stop Co-op Shop, who keeps telling me that I'm insane and that this is a really easy game and he never has any problem and he always wins. I assume he must be cheating. I don't know. But those are my only quibbles with the base game, and those are still my only quibbles with the game now. Speaking of the new stuff, I like all of it. I like that it is just a half step up on the complexity meter. It is just a little bit more. So when you feel like you've mastered the base, now, okay, well, let's add a little more complexity. Let's add some slightly new mechanics to go with the asymmetric heroes. Let's add a way that you can buff up your towers instead of just swapping out the abilities that your characters have. I think this is a very clever standalone expansion. Truth be told, I do feel like this is how a standalone expansion should be, because you can get this one and not feel like you're really missed out with the base game, because it still has that core gameplay. Or if you have the base game, you can get this one and you don't feel like you're just getting the same thing again, skinned differently with some slightly different abilities. It is distinctly different. So I guess the question that you might be thinking is, Hungry, if I have Rift in Time, should I get this? And that's a fantastic question. And I think my answer is this. If you really enjoyed Rift in Time, like I did, or even probably a little less than I did because I really enjoyed it, then I think, yes, you probably should. I think you should definitely pick this up if you're like me and one of your favorite parts of the base game was the characters and using those heroes and the way that they interact and the way that you can marshal their abilities to make the gameplay play differently. And if you really enjoyed that, then absolutely. Like I would back this without question because I love the character interaction so much, and I just want more of the characters. But beyond that, for those of you who really had a good grasp on the base game, these extra mechanics are a delight. There is something so delightful about making that choice. Do I want a coin or do I want a gem? And I want a coin. Great, I'm going to spin that coin, and what am I going to do with it? I have no idea. There's only a few options, but once I've done it, I have done it, and it's on that tower. And oh my gosh, if I put it on this level 2 tower, well, what am I going to do? Because if I don't use it, then I'm literally going to lose it because I'm going to pass it, and it's going to turn into a level 3 tower, which means this level 2 with all my buffs on is going to go in the stack until someone else gets it later. And oh my gosh, the choices and just the way that these slight changes makes you make these hard choices is a delight. So there you have it, folks. That is Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising. As no surprise to anybody, since it was my number 3 game of the year last year, I think this is a very fun game. I think if you like polyomino games and you like tower defense, then look no further. I don't think you're going to find a better one than this. I think if you really like a good puzzle, then again, this is a fantastic option. But most importantly, I think what really makes Kingdom Rush stand apart from other games of this ilk, I'm going to say ilk, even though that kind of has a negative connotation, I don't mean it to be negative, are these heroes. I think what they do is they make the game just shine. And I think if you like that idea that yes, you have your towers that you're using, but you also have this character that is kind of representing you that you're sending out there, it's just fantastic. That is Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising. I am super high on this game. I was super high on the base game, and I think this might actually be better. So there you have it, folks. Coming to GameFound in just about 4 or 5 days from now. I'm really high on it. And this is one that I'm actually really looking forward to getting all of the content that I can get my grubby little paws on. I'm still dying to get my hands on the expansions for the base Rift in Time game, and now I'm dying to get my hands on the other characters here, and I'm going to weep into my Cheerios if I hear from Lucky Duck that they need me to send this on so I don't have access to these 2 characters anymore. If I made any mistakes in the basic rules overview, please let me know in the comments with a timestamp. We'll get that into the Klingon subtitles. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.